Everybody, I'm Tasha with the Major Change Group, and today we're going to be talking about credit utilization. And I recently got a question asking me when is the best time to pay our credit card so that we can show utilization to the credit bureau. And I'm like, this is great, because when we think of credit utilization, all it is that the bank is wanting to know how we can manage our debt. And so when we think about paying our credit card, we really want to know, can we pay the credit card off? Should we leave 30% or less? And Experian is going to say it's best to leave about 7 to 10% or less. So in this video, we're going to get into it. Now, if you're like me and you want those high credit card limits, and let's say you're trying to get a credit line increase, if we're showing high credit utilization, then most of the time the banks and the credit unions are not going to want to either give us those new credit cards or extend us new credit. So it's very important that we understand our credit utilization so that we can get those high credit limits. So today we're going to break this down into 3 pieces. So first, we're going to look at our credit statement and what is the most important pieces of a credit statement we should be looking at. Then we're going to take a look at our credit report. And then we're going to say when is the best time to pay off so that we're not paying interest. So you can always drop down in the description, and I'm going to put the timestamps so you can go to exactly where you want to take a look at. So first, we're going to take a look at my credit card statement for my Navy Federal flagship. And the 3 main things that we want to take a look at is our statement date and our due date. And then we want to figure out what is our projected, or how much are we wanting to show utilization to the credit bureau. So we'll figure that out. And then we'll figure out when is the best time to pay our credit card so that we can show utilization to the credit bureau. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at my Navy Federal flagship statement, and we're looking at a snippet from my portal of my Navy Federal flagship. And so first, what we want to do is, what is our payment due date? So you can see my payment due date was 5/2 of 2024. And then here, we want to take a look to see when is our statement date, and mine says statement ending. And sometimes the credit card company can say closing date. And really all that means is, when is your credit card company or the credit union going to be reporting to the credit bureau? And so here we can see that my statement ending date is 5/5 of 2024. Next, what we want to take a look at is to see how much is my credit limit. And so my credit limit is $14,700. And so really what we want to decide is, how much do I want to report? And so you can see right here, my current balance is $1,668.09. So technically that's really about what, 11% or so, because 10% of my credit limit is going to be $1,470. So it's a little bit, maybe 12 or 13% or so. So we have our statement date, our due date, and then I'm going to say for myself, let's say if I wanted to report 10%. So we have our projected amount. So the next thing we want to take a look at is to see when should we pay. So when we take a look at my statement ending date, it says that it's 5/5 of 2024. So next we're going to go over to, I pulled my credit report from the portal, but see, you can pull your credit report from Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax so that we can verify how much is reporting to the credit bureau. When we are checking our credit report, you are able to see how much has been reporting to the credit bureau. So as for my last statement date balance, it shows that my last statement date balance was $208.32. So I pulled this actually from my Chase portal, and this is really reporting from Experian. So even if I checked my Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, it should still report the same thing. So we can see here that for my Navy Federal flagship, I did report $208. And you can see here that my credit limit is $14,700. So we can validate that. And I only reported 1%. And you can see over in the account details that it shows the date of account status was May 5th of 2024. So this is how we can validate what is on the statement from our credit union or our credit card company. So now we're going to determine when is the best time to pay so that we can show utilization to the credit bureau. So here, when we're looking at the statement, it's stating that my due date was on 5/2, and then my statement date is on 5/5. And so technically, every month, my due date should be on the 2nd of the month, and then my statement date should be on the 5th of the month. So you would just want to validate that for yourself. So in this scenario, since the due date is on the 2nd, really, I would want to pay a few days prior to the 2nd. That way my payment is not late. Because y'all know sometimes those banks, those credit unions, when you make your payment, it might take a couple of days. So I know with Navy Federal, sometimes it do take a few days for it to post. And I believe it even states that you want to make your payment or allow 1 to 3 days for the payment to post. So in this scenario, really would want to pay prior to the 2nd. So maybe like the 30th of the previous month, and then allow time for it to post. So if we take a look at the comment, it states my credit card due date is on the 17th and my statement date is on the 20th. So technically, if he was to pay maybe like the 15th, then it would allow time, maybe even the 14th, because it would allow time for it to post. So really, you would want to understand your bank or credit union to know how long it takes for it to post. And then that way, by the time his statement date gets here, he would have paid it down to whatever the projected utilization that he's wanting to post to the credit bureau. Now, let me know in the comments, just because you are letting an amount report to the credit bureau, does that mean that you have to pay interest on it? In my opinion, no. And so now that we have our statement date, when it's going to be reporting to the credit bureau, and then we're going to leave 7 or 10% or less than 30% on the credit card. Now we need to determine when are we going to pay off the credit card so that we're not paying any interest. And that's what I like to do. So let's take a look. So we know that our statement date, closing date, statement ending date is 5/5, and it reported, the 208. And so I'm able to go on to the credit bureau facts, and I can verify, did it post? And so then I verified it. So then after 5/5, so maybe let's say 3 or 4 days after that, then I can pay the credit card off, whatever that 10% or whatever I left on there, I could pay it off. And then that way I'm not paying any interest on the credit card. So that's how I like to do it, because I think that just because we're showing utilization, that doesn't mean that we have to pay interest on the credit card. So let me know what you think in the comments. How are you paying your credit card to show utilization? And let me know in the comments, what percentage are you showing utilization to the credit bureau? Is it 30% or less, 10%, 1%, or do you pay the credit card off all the way? Let me know in the comments, how are you paying your credit card to show utilization? And do you think it's important to show utilization? So I hope that this video was helpful. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, turn your notification bell on so you'll be notified when new content drops. I thank you so much for watching. Until next time. It's not a game.